a sattva. We don't do that for this, do we? You want to? Okay.
Well, I can always drop it just so
Okay.
because we forgot last time.
So it's all about sattva. The three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. Tamas is molasses in movement, in attitude, in thinking, as though molasses is clogged the brain, like that. And then we have what is called rajas. In terms of this here at hand, it's the inability to concentrate, too many distractions in terms of meditation. And tamas is sleep overwhelming the person. And so, with the practice of meditation, the tamas and the rajas reduce and sattva predominates. Why? Because that is the meditative person who is discovered in the process of the meditation is really close to who you are. That is really what it is. And by meditative person doesn't mean quiet, doesn't mean noisy, but the one who is inhabiting oneself without discontent, and that is the person that everybody is striving to be, and that is the person. And what kind of a striving is this? It is the striving of something that already is. It's not a striving of something that is not. And so these, even though we made fun of them last time, there is a certain element of truth. It's not that you start smelling of roses the more you meditate. That's not the point. The point is that everything clarifies in the mind, and then the state of the mind affects the body, naturally affects the body. And when the state of the mind affects the body, because they are connected, and so there is a certain lightness of being, and there is a certain, and here they say that there is not very much focus on food. It's not that the person stops eating, but that constantly, what shall I graze on now, is not there. That feeling is not there. And then there is more of a lightness, the body is light, and this is all also, the meditation was taught in the second chapter. Some of the verses we missed had to do with yoga, So of course when you do yoga, the body definitely gets lighter, and it affects the mind also. So the meditation along with yoga, it's like a joining of the body and the mind towards a certain mission of quietude. But of course the yoga ashramas now have made that the end. But that's not the end for us. That's just a way to clarify one's purpose, to be more aligned with the purpose of gaining this knowledge and assimilating and living this teaching, and to do whatever it takes to be able to accomplish that. So that is the importance for us. And so therefore the verses that we skipped have to do with that, the luster and of the face and all these things. I mean, the certain truth has to do with, if the person is feeling calm, it shows. That's all it is. If the person is feeling agitated, they may be restless, their hands and legs are moving all over the place. There's a certain discontent and emptiness that is not there. That's all it is. So that's why we just let that go, because what I want to do, we did the first chapter fully, and from the second and the third, I want to take the significant verses. And I spent some time looking at the chapter 3 as well today. So we will do that, and that way we'll have a handle on the message of this Upanishad without needing to be too repetitive. And also we'll have a sense of accomplishment of having studied it, hopefully. Yeah. So that is what I wanted to say. So chapter 2, we will be doing this verse we are doing now, which is 15. we're doing 15 now, and then we will do one more from this, 16. Number 17 is also in the Sri Rudram, with a little difference. Agnavyo apsuya oshadhishu, and then it's a little change, same thing. And so we will be doing number 16, and then from chapter 3 we'll do the first verse and then we'll take it as it comes. Let us see how that goes. There are some verses from the Rudram, like chapter 3, verse number 5. Yate Rudra Shiva Tanura Ghora Papakashini. Yeah. Yamishangirishanthahaste Vibharshyastave, 5 and 6. Yeah. So like this is a very important Upanishad because it is what is called a Mantropanishad. There are two kinds of Upanishads. Mantropanishad, and what's the other one? Yes? Brahmana Upanishad. So Brahmana doesn't mean somebody who is studying about Brahman. Brahmana is prose, mantra is verse. Mantropanishad and Brahmana Upanishad. So Mundakopanishad is a Mantropanishad. This is also a Mantropanishad because you see it's all in the form of verse. And in fact, the Brahmana Upanishad prefers and places the Mantropanishad at a higher pedestal than itself. And in the tradition also, we put this at a higher pedestal. Not that, everything is Shruti, everything is heard, everything is received. But the Mantropanishad is a little more valued. Both are valid. Both are valid as pramana. But in terms of worship and in terms of the knowledge, this Upanishad is valued a little better, a little more. And the reason being, it's very difficult to decode. Yeah. They will split the, not the infinitive, but they will split the suffix and the prefix from the word, and depending upon the meter it will come in different places. Like one example will come in the next verse, but another day-to-day example that we know, Om Ganana Antva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrinvan Utibhisi Dasadanam. And if you try to translate, what is this coming there? So Naha Shrinvan, okay, fine. Naha Asmakam, for us, do this, be a blessing source. Oh Ganesha, take away the obstacles. But that Asida Sadhanam. Asida, please come and abide in this place where the obstacles are happening to thee, and please come and abide. So that is put near Nashrinvan rather than Asida Sadhanam, because of the meter and because of how they want to present it. Very interesting. So and here also you will see this. And so that makes it difficult to understand. And of course what is difficult to understand is valued more because you have to work harder and look at it, and it is seen as revealed knowledge. Okay? Him? This? Okay. Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinnavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very interesting. We are in the middle of this verse. $15, correct? Yada atmatvena tu Brahmatvam yuktaha prapashyet. We are just looking at the breakdown, the anvaya, the connection. So yada, when yuktaha, the subject. Who is the subject? The one who is together, whose mind and body are not running in different places. You know, mind wants to go to Vedanta class, but the body is in a bakery. You know, this is so sometimes this can happen. So that is not yukta. We had a long discussion about what is yukta. This is just a recap. So just imagine, the mind definitely wants to say Tattvamasi, and but unfortunately that aham kekosmi is addressed to the cupcake rather than to Brahman. So you see, this is not a yukta. So yukta, the one whose mind, body, the whole person is a committed person. Not a person fit to be committed, but a committed person. A committed person is approaching this knowledge. And yada, because you see, everybody is getting antsy. When will I gain this knowledge? When will I be free? When will I shake off the mortal coils? One can get very theatrical about all this. So, this is a hopeful verse. Yada, when? When? Yada atmatvam, brahmatvam, atmatvena brahmatvam prapashyet yuktaha dhiraha. So, when the wise person, wise in terms of choices, wise in terms of attitude, wise in terms of making the right commitment, and wise in terms of proper learning and proper exposure to the knowledge from the source of someone who knows how to teach. Because otherwise, if you just go and sit, somebody actually told me, I'm really interested in spirituality. I got one email from somewhere in the middle of England, and I'm very much interested. So what are you doing for it? I'm going to a teacher. I said, that's good. Please continue to go. But the teacher refuses to teach. I said, this is very unfortunate. Why does the teacher refuse to teach? The teacher is a silent Baba. Does not speak one word. I said, so what do the students do? If the teacher is not teaching, what do? Nothing. They just come, sit for 5 minutes and go away. And then that's what has been happening for 5 years. 5 years in the middle of, I don't know where, Yorkshire. And 5 years. And of course the person is frustrated, Of course the person is upset because nothing is happening. So that is also very interesting kind of a karma here. One has to overcome and go to the correct person. And go to the person, if you're able to follow the silent teaching, good for you. But you're not here. Mauna Vyakhya. So, if you're not able to follow Mauna Vyakhya, after Maunam you have to graduate to Vyakhya. And you have to go to some person who is able to elucidate, articulate the knowledge in a way that you can understand. And so, all this comes in yuktaha. The one who has made, not only is wise, but has made choices that are not otherwise, who has made wise choices. Yeah, you can be wise but make wrong choices. That's not a yukta. And so the yuktaha prapashyet. So finally the quest comes to an end when yada, at the point in time, it's not really in time, when the person sees clearly, prapashyet, what? Brahmatvam prapashyet. Let us look at the verse properly. Brahmatvam prapashyet, sees Brahmatvam. What is Brahmatvam? Brahmanhood, Brahmanness. What is Brahmanness? Meaning that which we talked about earlier as the truth of this entire world of names and forms, as that single, non-dual, without a second, sentient awareness, consciousness that permeates the entire universe of living and non-living beings, and also includes the speaker, the knower. Pervades the knower, pervades everything else. So when that person sees this sentient, sees or understands or assimilates the knowledge that this sentient consciousness known as Brahman includes the Atma. Atmatvena pashyet. Again it is that itham bhave tritiya. The third case, which is not an instrument. It's not that you put on the goggles of Atma and then you look at Brahman. No. Here it is not a upakarana, it is not an instrument. It is in the form, in the very form. Yeah, in the very form of oneself. The one who owns up this sentient consciousness that permeates this entire world of name and form, that pervades this whole jagat as oneself. The one who is able to own it, own that. Yada. Tu, in fact, whereas, and indeed, prapashyet, and then a few other adjectives are added. And so this sentient consciousness, which is oneself, the person sees as what? Ajam, qualifying Brahmatvam, Dhruvam, correct? And Sarvata Tatvaihi Vishuddham. Here the Upanishad is having a little play of words. Yeah. That's why the Mantropanishad has a special place. This is a Sanskrit alliterative pun. Let's try to have some fun with this pun. Let me see if I can communicate its very quiet splendor. So here the Brahman was made into an abstract noun by Brahmanness, correct? So Brahmatattvam, correct? Brahmatvam is like saying Brahmatattvam, you know. So here, even though it says, Brahmatvam and Brahmatattvam, it's kind of similar. So here, this Brahmanhood or Brahmanness, Brahmatattvam also means the essence of Brahman, Brahmanness only. So Brahmatattvam, knowing that as the Atma, knowing that as the truth of oneself, and what is that truth? Ajam Dhruvam, forget for now. Sarva Tattvaihi Vishuddham, that which is free of all nesses. Knowing the ness which has no nesses. Yes, bereft of nesses, that is the ness. See, that is what I am saying, it's so subtle here. Sarva Tattvaihi Vishuddham means cleaned off of all the nesses. Is Brahman, you know, it's all kinds of nesses, humanness, womanness, manness, manliness, womanliness. What other nesses are there? Tree-ness, shark-ness, lock-ness. So, all the nesses are gone. The nesses have departed, from which, if we were to make that into a ness, a nessless ness, that is Brahmatattvam. That is how to understand, as the truth of oneself is that which is free of all nesses. No ness. No tvam and no ta. Ta is the feminine form of tvam. Tvam is neuter. Yeah, Brahmatvam. You can also say Brahmata and make Brahman feminine. Put her in a sari and say Brahmata. Yeah. So, here Brahmatattvam, that tattvam, thatness, tattvam itself means thatness. So, Brahmatattvam, that Brahman, thatness, is thatness which is free of all nesses. Sarva tattvaihi vishuddham. And here, that is the pun number 1. There is another pun hidden. And for that we have to have a little background knowledge. Because when we start talking about this whole Brahman and everything, you stop very frequently, you come to the knower and stop there. That's why one asks the question, how do I know the knower? How do I know that I know? How do I know that I don't know? And do I know? Do I not know? Who is asking the question? All these questions. One can kind of understand this knowledge up to the whole status of the knower. Here is where the problem comes. And what is the problem here? The problem is that the knower has to be taken by the collar and shaken out and, put aside. The knower is the ahankara, I-ness, who has climbed onto the throne of knower. It's a status. The knower is a status. And you cannot perch on this status and say, I am all, but I want to hold my knowership. I told you last time, I want to, you have been crowned the king of the whole galaxy. Oh, does that include my hometown of Raipur? This fellow asked. So if, you are the king of the universe, you are that sentient consciousness which is everything. You are the whole. Oh, does that include being a knower? Of course it does, but you have to let go of that knowerness here. And so that knowerness, that ahankara, I see there are tattvas. Here tattvas means subtle elements. Subtle elements. Like, they are also called kalas, certain aspects. And so the subtle elements, the ahankara is a tattva. Yes. So here, sarva tattvaihi vishuddham, because it's easy to say, it's like that fellow who gave up everything. And this fellow said, I have given up my family. Okay, great, check. I have given up. I have given up my wealth. Check. I have given up my house. Check. I have given up my clothes. Check. I have given up, all my belongings. Check. So much I have given up. This fellow goes and tells his teacher. And the teacher says, you haven't given up anything at all. Oh, what do you mean? I've given up so much. When are you going to give up the giver-upper? This giver-upper here is called a tattva, a very strong tattva. A tattva means a subtle identification. The subtle, the manaha, ahankara, they are all certain, sun matras. They are also called tattvas. And there are 15 or I don't know how many of them. And there are, all these tattvas are there. And these tattvas, out of this, the ahankara, the I notion, the I-ness, which dawns on the cap of the knower and the not knower and the small one and the harassed one, the agent, the doer, the victim, all of them. It is this ahankara that plays in various fields, and so this ahankara has to be rattled and shaken up, and that is what has to be lightened from this process. And so you cannot know Brahman and sit in the place of the knower and say, I know Brahman. I know Brahmatattvam or Brahmatvam or whatever, I know Brahman and you don't. Or I am Brahman but you are not. That clearly shows you don't know Brahman if you say that. So here, sarva tattvaihi vishuddham. So that is the second part of the pun. Is that this ness that the yuktaha, prapashyet, which the yukta is seeing as the truth of oneself, not seeing as, while still retaining the status of the knower. It is a knowing that is free of the throne, of inhabiting or climbing onto the throne of the knower. But then what's the fun? Because I want to write on my Facebook, I want to update. I know Brahman. I am a yukta. Otherwise, what fun there is. I want to see how many people like that I am enlightened. So that I already told you, one teenager approached me in DC and said, can you please like me on Facebook? I said, I like you on your face. I can tell you on your face. Why Facebook? No, I'm collecting some likes. So this cannot be, this is not Brahman knowledge where you feel like you have to go and advertise this knowledge, because the advertising means identification with the knower. Yeah. This is the thing, and that's why it is very difficult in terms of, that's why Arjuna had that question, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha. How is the enlightened one recognized? Because the enlightened one by definition is not going to, do a dindima, a drum beat and hire some town criers. So and so is enlightened. Nobody is going to do that. And then if the enlightened one keeps quiet and the non-enlightened one is also quiet, because the non-enlightened one knows that it's a liability to open the mouth. Therefore the non-enlightened one is quiet. The enlightened one is quiet because of the enlightenment, let us say, or the lightening of the ego. And so therefore, how do you tell the difference? Because neither of them are talking. This is where the rub is. Because nobody is advertising their enlightenment or the lack thereof. Neither the unenlightened one is advertising, don't come to me, I am not enlightened, because who's going to look bad? The unenlightened one is looking bad. So they sit very quietly and just let people come to whatever conclusions they want. And the enlightened one doesn't care. Also sits quietly and lets, and in fact in the Brahma Sutra it said that may the person of knowledge pretend to be dumb. It is said. Yeah. May the person who is a yukta, who is a dhira, who knows this, may you not advertise this and pretend as though you don't know. Don't stand apart from people. Don't try to, show off your knowledge. In every mundane situation, don't make a nuisance of yourself in every coffee shop. Tatvamasi, especially if you're working there. You know this? You know the difference between the Shruti and Smriti? I know. You don't know. These kinds of things is not a sign of dhiratvam or yuktata. This is not a yukta. So here, sarva tattvaihi vishuddham is to see that penchant for knowership, for beating the drum of, enlightenment, and for getting some likes, or having a posturing. There is a certain posturing. I know Vedanta. They look like they are ready to go to a chiropractor because the head is held somehow. I have so much vairagya. Vairagya is oozing out of every pore. And to demonstrate that, I will stop bathing right now. One Mahatma did that. Yeah. His name is, I don't know his name, but everybody calls him Protoplasm Baba, because he has some extreme methods of teaching. And you've heard of him? No? Okay, and he never bathes, and then he has these drawings of protoplasms and ectoplasms and skeletons, and he teaches like that the truth of whatever you hold true is just this, like this body, mind, etc. is just a skeleton. So he has very drastic teaching methods, yeah, including his own persona. So this is, all this, is not needed. The posturing is not needed. That is the thing. And so be dumb, that is the whole advice that's given, You dumb down the knowledge. No, really. Yeah. Behave like a murkha. It says in the Brahma Sutra. Behave like a kind of a happy fool. A fool without a care in the world. Because in any case, people are thinking you to be foolish. Let's not have any, let's not have any hidden, let's not hide this fact. If you're studying Vedanta and you're pretty into it, people will say, what is wrong with you? Already they are thinking to be foolish. Just confirm their fears. Quietly, gently. Don't try to disconfirm or unconfirm their fears. Go along with it, Because if you are secure with yourself, you know who you are without needing to even be a knower, then what's the problem if other people think that you are you are an idiot? No problem. You are dumb. Okay. And this is what we hear even about Zen masters, who pretend to not know at all, even when they knew. And some of them had drastic ways of student management. They would stand on a mountain with a big boulder in the hand, and when they saw a student approaching to touch their feet, they would release the boulder. A stroke of enlightenment, perhaps. True Zen form. There are stories like this. Yeah, there are stories like this. And so like this, there is nothing to show off. There is nothing to show, forget off. Yeah. And that's why you have to, there's no need to go off, because there's nothing to show off. There's nothing to say, oh, you know this, you know that, and I know this, and I have studied Panini, and I have studied, this and that, and I have studied Sankhya philosophy and Yoga philosophy, and what else is there? That Kshanika Vijnana philosophy, and this and that, and I have done this and I have done that, and I stayed at Gurukulam, and I did this and I did that, and I eat once in a while when I remember. All this is called Vedantic posturing. And this is something to be really, really aware of. Be normal. You're inhabiting an apparent duality, and if you know that it is apparent, there is no need to try to sort of say that, oh, I'm just so above it all. This is the problem. This is called Vedantic elitism, and it can creep in. Along with that, what is that? That snug place of the knower breeds in this elitism, unfortunately. And we, encounter it much more than we would like to. Yeah. And so whenever we encounter it, whenever one encounters it in oneself, it is time to, do something very mundane and get, do something mundane or connect and ground, by doing some mundane things, so that one doesn't ever get into the place of feeling that one is above it all, because that's a useless, it comes in the way of knowing. Here you have put yourself into a little, pedestal, which becomes a prison. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And this we have seen. Just go to a few interfaith conferences, you will see all kinds of things that are going on. And this is what is called Guru Dam. Yeah. It's better to be Guru Dumb rather than have a Guru Dumb. this gurudom of, this whole feeling that I have so much knowledge, and all ye lowly mortals, you don't know what you're missing out, and I am the chosen one, and I am the Vedantic Messiah for the new world. All this, even if there are shades of it coming, that has to be, disbanded immediately, And so therefore, that is the third way to look at this sarvatatvaihi vishuddham, that which is free of all thoughts, even about itself, that which is free of all attitudes, that which is free of being the knower, that which is free of being the known, that which is free of the difference knower and known, that which is free of doer, ship and victimship, what is that other one? Doer and experiencer, and that which is free of thinker, thought and process of thinking, that which is free of knower, known knowledge, that which is free of all kinds of divisions. Sarva tattvas are what make these subtle elements into gross elements, those tattvas. And those tattvas are not there, there is no differentiation. So tattvas account for the differentiation. So Brahma tattva is the only tattva which is not subject to differentiation. There is no differentiation, there is no diversification. It alone is, and I happen to be that, and that knowingness is what I abide in. And as soon as I say I know Brahman, then what happens? I get into the knower, correct? And as soon, even if I make it passive voice and say Brahman is known to me, or I am known to Brahman, even if I make it the other way, still I become the known, I become the knower, and the knower-known split is always kind of riding on this dangerous, duality. So the point is to cognitively dismiss this whole differentiation. You don't have to break down everything in the Jagat. What you have to break down is your own notions, that this is an ocean of samsara. So the ocean is but a notion. When you know that, when you see that, you don't have a truck with duality. This is how to kind of seamlessly live in the world but not be off of it. That is what the whole thing is. You live in the world, yes, you do what everybody does. What makes you great? Nothing. They eat, you eat. They sleep, you sleep. They go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom. Why are you so special? Oh, but what about that Vedantic luster in the last verse? That's why I didn't do it. Remember, we did not study it on purpose. So this Vedantic stance of this being the knower of is actually a big thorn on the side of knowing. Really. Not only that, it dismisses the knowledge that one already has. Because one is catching on to one small little piece when one is the whole. So that this is what the, sarva tattvaihi vishuddha. That which is free of all tattvas, including the I notion. The I notion, when it goes and joins cognitively Brahman as I, that everything and everyone is I alone, the I notion as abiding in a particular body, mind, sense complex ceases to operate in any capacity to make a big difference. It's not that the person doesn't know that they have a body. That is again an extreme stance. The person may know I have this body and I can move around, and is not that the person is not owning up the body. They are owning up the body. But their location or the identification with the I is much bigger than that one body, and includes all bodies, all minds, and transcends them also. That is what this is talking about. It's not a particular stance of knowing something which nobody else can know, and this is what makes everyone run away from Vedanta, because it becomes a very divisive and an alienating stance. And this should not be the case. You should just bring everybody together, like Pujya Swamiji does. When you go to see him, you feel special. You feel very, very special. There may be 100 people in the room, but he is there only with you. And he manages to do that because he is not separate from you. And he makes you feel special not by, saying, something about his own knowledge or what he knows. He makes you feel special by his inclusiveness, by showing himself as not different from you. That is the beauty. That is the beauty of it. And that is what really is attractive about this knowledge, that it can bring out, it has the potential to bring out that in me. That is what should attract one to this knowledge. Because if one is truly a person that is everything and everybody, then what kind of a stance? What tattva am I going to sit and ride on? So one reaches out, one includes, one draws. And this is not some kind of a, this is not about charisma. That is such a, that is not the correct word here. At least the English meaning of it. The English meaning of charisma. Charisma means that either you have it or you don't, or perhaps you read some books, Dale Carnegie, How to Influence Friends and Win People, some books he wrote. And maybe he made a few friends after writing this book. So if you read these kinds of books, it's not that kind of an influence. It's not some way in which you're born with some kind of oratory skills and you stand on a podium or wherever and then you start to voice something and then everybody gathers and are mesmerized. That's not what we are talking about. And in fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, charisma comes from karishma. And what does karishma mean? Magic. A kind of a magic. And what is this magic here? The magic of oneness. That is magic. It's the oneness. It's just you going about your life knowing that nothing is separate from you, and it shows. It shows in your daily activities. Because this is a question often asked, how do I live Vedanta in the day to day? This is day to day, right? Yeah, minute to minute. This is what it is. And so, as one grows to embrace the entire universe, it shows in one's behavior. That's all it is. And so I allow that to happen. So sarvatatvaihi vishuddham, free of all notions, free of all definitions, free of language, free of any kind of divisions, completely free. And then, when was Brahman's birthday? 2 months ago? No. Ajam, ajaha means what? Unborn. Unborn. Not born at all. So how can you celebrate the birthday of something that was never born? Oh, this is a problem. That's why I don't want to know this Brahman, because I'll miss my birthdays. Every day is your birthday. It's ever new. It's unborn, but it is right now new, 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 yet ancient, new, 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 all the time, without having a birth. And Dhruvam means the only thing that you can count on. Dhruva is a pole star. When you see that there are, unfortunately in Eugene, we don't have very clear skies at night, many months of the year. But those of us who grew up elsewhere, there are these 4 in a rectangle, these 4 stars, and then there are 3 stars. That is called the pan with the handle, pan handle, not the Florida panhandle. This is the astronomical panhandle. There are these 4 stars, kind of in the shape of a diamond, and then it has these 3 stars in a tail. and then from the first star, and in between the first and the second star that's forming this span, you look directly above, and that's that star is called the pole star. It never changes direction. Like I said last time, when you look up, you know how lost you are or how lost you were. So, it is very close to the northern arc of the earth, and so it never changes position. You can always count on it. And so here, if Brahman is dhruvam, fixed. All other stars have rising and setting, because the earth moves. But since the earth moves with the northern pole is stationary, that star is always in the same place. And so therefore, the dhruvam here means the only thing that is worth being called a thing, the only thing that is worth counting on. Dhruvam, ajam, and then what else? Yeah, sarvatatvaihi vishuddham, jnatva. Jnatva means what? Knowing. Knowing. Yeah. Jnatva, having known. Having known or knowing Brahman in this manner. In what manner? As oneself, as free of all, whose essence is free of all essences, and who is unborn, who is the truth of oneself, who is the only constant changeless thing, the witness of all changes, and as the truth of oneself, and the one who sees has a certain commitment, and one is a yukta. And then what happens to that person? Deepa upamena iha. Deepa upamena iha means like the light. Like the light. Deepa upama means like the light. That same light, that self-luminous Atma is that unborn, free of modifications, free of nesses, Brahman. Okay? That alone is Brahman, which is myself, that self-luminous, self-effulgent, self-revealing. I alone am Brahman. So, Deepa upamena iha jnatva devam muchyate sarva papaihi or sarva pashaihi. Now, we have a slight, from the grammatical point of view, we have a slight problem here. What is the problem? Everything is neuter, correct? Ajam, dhruvam, and Brahma Tattvam, correct? And then we have Devam. Is Deva neuter? No. Deva is what? Devaha. So, it is object all right, but still, along with all the words, you cannot say Brahma, which is Devam, because Brahma and Devaha don't quite match, correct? And so therefore, this slight thing here, so we can take it as Deva Rupam. Instead of Devam, you take it as Deva Rupam. So Devaha is masculine, cannot directly qualify Brahman. So therefore, we take it as Deva Rupam, and it is Chandasam, means we don't argue with the Veda, we let it go, and we say that this is how it is. So Devam means what? The self-shining one. Yeah. Not Devata here, the self-shining one, the one that is all, the light of all lights, and this Deva is the Jyotanatmakatvat, the shining one, is the one who is to be known as the truth of oneself, and the one that is to be known as the truth of oneself is the one that frees one of all senses of omissions and commissions, which are these notions of bondage, pashaha, Pasha means ropes that bind, shackles. Pasha here, shackles. Asha pashaihi shataihi baddhaha. Asha pashair shatair baddhaha. There is a, another verse. Asha pasha. Nice, no? What is asha? Desire. Asha is pasha. Asha pashaihi shataihi means by hundreds of the shackles of desire, ropes of desire, the one who is bound. So here also sarva pashaihi muchyate, opposite of badhyate, muchyate, the one who is freed of all pashas, the one who is freed of everything, and the one who is totally and completely free of desires, free of incompletion or incompleteness, free of smallness, free of a lack centered on oneself, free of self-judgment, all that. Knowing who? Knowing oneself as that only self-shining, self-luminous entity who is all Bhagavan, unborn, and what? Who is Brahman, whose essence is whose essence is essencelessness. Knowing that as the truth of oneself and seeing that very clearly, the prepared person becomes free. Now, another meaning of the word Deva can be used, and that is in keeping with what comes in the next chapter. Deva here as Bhagavan. Yeah. That's why it is appropriate for it to be masculine here. Not that Bhagavan is masculine, but the change of gender signifies that it also lends itself. If we look closely, that's why I love this mantra so much. It is so beautiful. It has so much. You keep looking at it, and you keep looking at it, and you can keep talking about it. And so here Deva is what? Is Bhagavan. And so here we have Atma in the same mantra. The word Atma is used, the word Brahman is used, and the word Bhagavan is also used. This is the 3 feet of Vedanta. The tripod of Vedanta sits on this, correct? Yeah. You are Bhagavan, Tattvamasi, and who is Bhagavan? You disrobe Bhagavan, and then you discover Bhagavan is Ishvara, is Brahman. And then you disrobe this miserable jiva who refuses to take off the clothes because attached to the tatters, and you disrobe this jiva, and what do you have? Brahman. So you have here Atma, oneself, and then the jiva here, it could be taken, and then you have Brahman, and then you have Deva, the one, both Atma and Deva are Brahman. Jnatva, once knowing Bhagavan as the truth of oneself, which is Brahman, free of all nesses, one is freed from all notions of lack and judgment. Understood? Have we looked at all the words? Yes. Esho hi devah pradisho nu sarvaha.
Esho devah pradisho nu sarvaha.
Purvo hajatassa ugarbhe antaha.
Purvo hajatassa ugarbhe antaha.
Sa eva jatassa janishyamanaha.
Sa eva jatassa janishyamanaha.
Pratyang jananstishthati sarvato mukhaha.
Pratyam janastishtati sarvato mukhaha.
Is it jananstishthati or janastisthati? Janaha tisthati. Janaha jananstishthati. Should have been jananstishthati, but anyway, we'll look at it when we come to that more. So that's why we know now the meaning of the word Deva here is what? Not just the self-shining Atma, because that was already illustrated by Deepa Upama in the second line, like the brightly burning light, which is at once oneself and everything else. And then here it is Gyatva Devam. And so who is this Deva is talked about here. Eshaha. So this is a mantra introducing Bhagavan. Yeah. Here is Bhagavan. Not standing next to me, but right with you. Standing inside you. Here is Bhagavan, says the Upanishad. And when you say Eshaha, Eshaha means right here. Other than Tat. Tat Tvamasi, that you are. And that the word that has a quality of remoteness. See? Because it is that which I can never achieve. So I think. It is that which is so far away because locally not available. Who is this Brahman? Who is this Bhagavan? Where are they? How to look for them? That person over there. Whereas this flower, right? This has a certain sense of, kind of an accomplished fact. This, meaning it's not out of reach. This can never be out of reach. That is out of reach. Always that is out of reach. That person. And this person, meaning etat deshakala, prakritam, deshakala avachinnam, manushyam. So this person here, when I say this manushya, meaning this manushya that is qualified by this time and this place, right here, right now, there is a certain immediacy. That's the word I was looking for. When I use the word eshaha, which means this, immediacy, which in Sanskrit the word for immediacy is aparoksha. Yeah. Aparoksha, na paroksha, aparoksha, non-remote. Whereas that which is remote is called paroksha. So that which is remote. When I say that which is remote, it can never be this, correct? No one says this which is remote. That itself shows. So the prepositions this and that, the Upanishads, all the Upanishads, many of them have a lot of fun with this. Yeah. And here the introduction starts with a bang at the end of the second chapter itself. Although this Bhagavan is going to be further introduced in chapter 3, this is like the appetizer, something to whet the appetite. What are we here in for? What are we trying to look at here? Because it's not enough, and I'm going to talk about it more next time. It's not enough to say I am that sentient consciousness which belongs everywhere, which is everything, which is everywhere. It's only partial knowledge, because then one is stuck with this body, correct? And is the body a cause or an effect? Let me think. Well, it is the cause because I have children, so it's the cause of a few more bodies. All right, but then it was also caused, correct? It was also caused by something else. 5 elements, everything conspired to cause this body. And so this body is, you cannot say that it is self-standing, self-evident. The body doesn't, lend itself to that. And then if the body is an effect, which we have determined that it is also an effect that is overlorded by a cause or by many causes. Correct? So the more I identify with the body, then the sense of feeling overloaded does not leave. Overloaded is just a nice way of saying overpowered, overwhelmed. Feeling like I need elbow room. Feeling like something is constricting me, including my own karmic profile. I want to do something and I keep working very hard. The neighbor is getting the promotion. The neighbor is getting the raise, a very hair-raising issue. I am the one who is working hard. The neighbor is getting the raise. And whatever is due to me, somebody else is getting and enjoying. So here there is a discrepancy. Because even if I know that I am that all-pervasive sentient consciousness, stuck in this little body, it's not a very flattering piece of knowledge, because it's only half. What brings it home is to identify with that which overlords. Then you can sit up a little straighter, then you can rub your hands with imminent glee, then you can say, let me at this overlordship. Everybody wants to overlord. In fact, frequently that's why people get married, want to overlord. And in the Hindu ceremony we have various versions of this in North and South India. This is an arranged marriage. So sometimes they haven't even seen each other, or they have seen each other once or twice. And so in the North, they come with garlands, and in fact, they come, very determined toward, they are supposed to walk with to each other and garland each other, The one who gets the garland on the other one first, it is said, will overlord that person for the rest of their life. And they are not going to give way. They don't care who thinks what about them. I mean, this is of course being witnessed by, Indian wedding crowd means minimum 1,000 people, few villages, notwithstanding. Because even if you don't invite, they will come. Yeah. So you should just succumb and invite everyone. And that's why the Indian wedding invitation will say, you are cordially invited along with your family and friends and dog and cat. No, they don't say it. I made that part up. So with your family and friends, Meaning even if you have a friend, bring them to the wedding, because you will anyway. So, so here we are inviting you. And so minimum 1,000 people are witnessing this. These, it doesn't look like the bride and the groom are garlanding each other. They are actually trying to overlord each other. This is what it is. And then we have a different version of it in South India. They have a screen. The elders hold a screen. A screen means it could be a glorified bed sheet. It doesn't matter. So usually it's a bed sheet. The biggest bed sheet there is in between the bride and the groom. So the bride is standing this side, the groom is standing that side. And then they are armed with rice. Akshata. A handful of rice, which they have to quickly put on each other, and whoever puts it first overlords, And of course, in these were the days when they didn't have slow webcams and everything was not, so then they would argue who won. They would argue. Yeah. They would really argue with each other. So therefore, this itself shows that it's not enough to get married. Whether you're getting married to Brahman or to another person, it's not enough to get married. You have to have a sense of overlordship. That power is what attracts. In the marriage also, at least one person listens to me, or at least I can be under the delusion that one person is going to listen to me. And then frequently when that doesn't work, people have children, so that this is a small, you can't even flip over, looks like a fish, and here it is, tiny thing which is just, batting about its hands and legs, and it's cute, so therefore I can tell it what to do, and it's going to listen, because here is this thing totally dependent upon me. I mean, that joy is something else. That is especially the mother who holds the baby for 9 months, gives birth to it. Oh, she's a goddess. She's the creator. And she just holds it, look at this. This thing is totally dependent on me for food. This thing is totally dependent on everything, on me alone. And so that is that feeling of overlordship, that feeling needed, that feeling that I have something to do about the destiny of another human being. And that works till teenage. Yeah. After that, you are no longer the Devata in regard to your children's life. Yeah, in fact, they have shut you out. They stop, listening when you talk. This is what happens. And then you say, okay, I think it's time to get a pet. then that is another joy. Sit! Oh, this four-legged thing, the wagging the dog, this tail which is wagging the dog, sits down. Even though the tail is still wagging the dog, it's a sitting dog. And then, of course, immediately it gets up after it has eaten the treat. But then you have another treat in hand. You say, sit. Sits. Yeah. And so this overlordship is what attracts. And that is why people have businesses, people become heads of corporations even though it's a stressful job, people become teachers, people become doctors because you have life at the end of the scalpel, point of the scalpel. You can cut, this fellow is out of, he's zoned out on anesthesia, doesn't even know what I'm doing. I am the one to make him feel better. His destiny is in the tips of my fingers, or at least on the tip of the sword, the scalpel which I wield. I am the wielder of this, and I can do all these things. And even if one is a plastic surgeon, this sense of I'm molding this person, nipping here, tucking there, all these things, that overlordship attracts. And why does that attract? Because that is what one is geared to be. That is what one is wired to be. That is what one wants to be. And so that overlordship is what one already is, has to be understood. So Brahman has to be understood from two standpoints. Not only as that sentient awareness which permeates the whole Jagat, the whole manifest universe, which includes me, which is non-separate from me, but that me is Eshaha Devaha. That me is this overlord of all, the causation of everything without a cause. Then you say, thank God. So now you don't need to get married when you know this. And then you don't need to have children or pets either. Yeah, if you're serious about this, then, then this is the ultimate overlordship. Yeah. So you don't have to have all these trials and errors anymore, because now you are geared to that which will never disappoint, because it's an accomplished fact. It is not something to be accomplished. So it's not away from you, it is you. More we will discover next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. That was so much fun. So Kavita is coming tomorrow? She's leaving tomorrow, no?
30th, yeah, she's coming here on
Friday.
Yeah, her friend is taking the day off work, so.
Wonderful. Good. Yeah, early morning flight. Have a safe trip. I will see you soon. Yeah, nice to see Savitri. Very nice. Oh. Is that the first time you logged on? Chemo, D Chemo. Who is that? What is your name? Oh, that's Dottie. Wonderful. Very nice. D Kemp. It was supposed to be Kemp. But the P and the O are together on the keyboard. Okay, got it. Got it. Wonderful. All right. See you all tomorrow at same time, 6 o'clock. Om.